three E's are really important. I think that, you know, finding the ability to empathize with yourself and to be forgiving of yourself is also important. Oftentimes, those of us living with mental health diagnoses, we self-hate. We in the self-isolation, we have a tendency to berate ourselves or put ourselves down or have that inner critical voice that's just so negative. Certainly when I was about to attempt off the Golden Gate Bridge in the year 2000, 20 years ago, I had such self-hatred and such inner critical voices that were trying to end me. And so when you're going through that and you're considering things like suicide and you're losing all hope, remember that you too have value, you too are worthy, and you deserve this life into your natural end. I think that one of the things you can do every day, if you truly are physically alone, is look in the mirror every day and say 5 to 10 things that are kind to yourself and nice and empathetic and empowering and beautiful. Reverse the negative inner critical voice. Reverse the negativity and turn it into positive affirmation. We know that regular and consistent positive affirmation changes the brain. We know that it changes the brain chemistry. And this is science-based, evidence-informed. You can really alter your thought patterns and even your regular suicidal thought patterns, which are just these negative thoughts that can just be your thoughts. They don't have to lead to action. I think it's really important that people who feel like they have no one and nothing take it upon themselves to fight the inner hurting self in a big way. I think I might have lost one of you guys.
Jenny, we can't hear you.
I apologize, everyone. Yeah. Have dogs barking in my house. It's a fun day, right? So we will be real. So Kevin, I have a couple of questions. Rana McCormick has asked, what message would you like to share to our youth that have been thinking about suicide, and what advice could we give those individuals that are currently experiencing these thoughts of suicide?
So the message I have for youth is, no matter what you're going through, take a moment and just breathe. In through the nose, out through the mouth, pursed lips like a whistle but no sound. Do that 20 to 30 times and take your time. Take a moment to realize that you are young. You have time. Let me be very clear, and this might seem harsh for some people, but we're all going to pass away. We're all going to die. That's part of life. Give yourself time for things to change. Give yourself time to put in the hard work to augment your mental destiny. You really are meant for this world. Suicide never has to be the solution to your problem. It is the problem. And you are 1,000 times greater than the worst thing you've ever done or the worst thing that's ever happened to you. So remember the beauty that lies within, and that you are important, that you matter, that your life is valued. And take it from there. When you next have these feelings of suicidal ideation, share that pain with someone nearby. A pain shared is a pain halved. Don't keep it to yourself. We need to help keep you safe. We love you. We care about you. We want you to be here tomorrow.
Thank you, Kevin. And such impactful words filled with hope, because that is just the thing. The number one reason why so many individuals don't reach out for help is because of that stigma. So if we think about, back 20 years ago, like you indicated, thinking about suicide, what prevented you from reaching out and talking? Was it the stigma?
It was. I call it. I akin it to discrimination and marginalization of those with mental health crises and suicidal ideation. We say stigma in this community, in this country and around the world, but really, do they call racism and bigotry stigma? Do they call it racism and bigotry? And this is what it is. It's discrimination and marginalization of those with mental health struggles or conditions and suicidal ideation. We're put in a box. We're put in this box and we're told that we have to stay in this box and that we don't have a chance to get out or a chance to be successful in life, or that we can never be recovered or in recovery. And I think we need to break out of that box. We need to say that discrimination and that marginalization doesn't have to defeat us. We can build ourselves back up, brick by brick from the ground up, to a full-formed house or structure, and we can make ourselves safe again. I learned while living with regular and chronic thoughts of ending my life how to stay alive every time by being self-aware. And I learned to be self-aware by building a routine of talk therapy, educating myself as to my diagnosis, exercise, eating healthfully, coping strategies and mechanisms, music and art therapy, which is available to everyone if you just do a little homework, and it's free if you utilize it on yourself. I do all these things in my daily routine because it keeps me sane. And I think that people underestimate themselves. I think we need to recognize that each of us has a purpose, and that we can all fight the good fight to defeat mental pain one day at a time. Even if we're in physical isolation and there's nobody else around, we can put in the effort to better balance our brain, mind, behavioral, and mental well-being.
I have a follow-up question to that, Kevin. So there's been so much good work done over the last 10, maybe 20 years around the stigma of mental illness and addictions. Yet, in spite of all of these amazing awareness campaigns, it seems, and again, this could just be perception, not reality, that there are more suicides. And again, it might be just that we're talking about it, that we have better data. But how do we remain hopeful given this reality?
A couple of things. I think that one of the things that's happening is because of the awareness levels that people have today, more and more people are talking about their diagnoses or their attempt or their suicidal ideation or their suicide issues. So I think where we see this rise, this uptick, a great deal of it really is that more and more people are being open and honest about their pain. So I don't think it's all caused by a literal rise. A lot of it is just that more people are being honest about their struggles. In the United States, a new national survey of over 2,000 U.S. adults found the majority of those surveyed, 81%, believed as a result of COVID-19 that it's more important now than ever than to talk about suicide prevention and make it a national priority. So we have a lot of people willing to dive in and do the work. That survey was conducted by the Harris Poll on behalf of the National Action Alliance for Suicide Prevention and the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention and Resource Center, and SPRC. And the survey data also showed that 52% of respondents report being more open to talk about mental health as a result of COVID-19. So we're seeing people being willing to come out into the open public and be truthful about their pain. And this data reinforces that Americans know that they can play a key role in strengthening suicide prevention and mental health, especially during the pandemic. And so I think we can have them find hope in the notion that now more than ever, people are willing to come forward. And if they're willing to come forward, we can study more and have more efficacious models of preventing suicide and really get to the nitty-gritty of it so we can reduce the national rates and the international rates of suicide because people are willing to get involved and tell their truth. And if they can tell their truth and we can study that truth, we could do a world of good in the suicide prevention community.
And that's exactly what you have done and so many others with lived experience have done. I believe that you are absolutely right. Individuals are are sharing their stories and experiences with us. And I truly am hopeful that that's the catalyst to changing a system where internationally we have a suicide prevention strategy in which we all start speaking the same language, and we start to put a lot of advocacy and voice to those who have been there on that edge, like you have indicated. Through the chat, Kevin, a lot of individuals are speaking about the stigma. Another question is, how do we help people tell their truth? How do we help people or individuals or a community? How do we start the process of making suicide prevention a national priority? Canada is one of the only countries yet without a national prevention strategy.
That's right, and I think that one of the things your average person could do on a daily basis is volunteer for a suicide prevention related cause in your community. Give your time, give your energy to something greater than yourself. We know that people who volunteer for a cause greater than themselves are 63% more mentally healthy than those who do not. So we know that statistically, giving back to your community can help keep you sane and you safe. And in that, giving back in the suicide prevention world could also build up a great deal of responsibility and resilience in your community. And if you can recruit people that are like-minded with you to do the same thing, you can have a huge ripple effect in your community and the surrounding areas for preventing suicide and instilling hope, like we're talking about earlier, and giving back to people in great need.
Well, I have one question that's awesome, and it is from a therapist in a mental health hospital. Indicates that they come across many individuals that report the current mental health system actually makes them feel worse. What could hospitals or mental health professionals do to change the negativity around receiving and getting help? And that's very true. There's a lot of stigma that, perhaps somebody has already experienced some, a negative experience when reaching out.
Yeah, no, and I'm first to tell you that I've experienced that a million times. In the 9 psych ward stays I had to stay in the last 14 years, the last being a year and a half ago, I will say this: most of the people that worked in those psych ward stays really cared about the patients genuinely. But there were several people in those stays who were very apathetic, very negative, and really were just going through the motions of their job. They didn't love what they did anymore. And that showed very deeply. And it affected every patient, every consumer, every citizen of hope, as I call them, in those places, trying to get a leg up in the world, trying to feel better. And so as a person who's had lived experience with this experience, it really was devastating to have adults who are supposed to be treating you look at you like you're less than, like you have less value, and like you don't know what you're doing, and that you'll never get better, and judging you for that. One thing that those folks could have done was accepted me for who I am, met me where I'm at, and said, hey, we understand that you might come in and out of these places and have some recidivism. We got your back, and we're not gonna judge you for what you're going through. We are gonna be there for you as your shoulder to lean on. And we have a lot of tips, tools, and tricks to how to get you to mental stability. It was in my 3rd psych ward stay of 9 where I had what I call my epiphany and the gift. The gift came in the form of meeting my lovely wife, Margaret, as she was there visiting her cousin who was catatonic. He couldn't move or talk, and I got him out of that catatonia, but that's another story. It was in that psych ward stay that my uncle came and brought me a Time magazine article, How to Defeat Bipolar Disorder, Depression, and Mental Illness with Routine and Regimen and Win. And I read this article, and I went to my nurse's station, and I found the nurses and the staff that were the kindest. And I said, hey, listen, I'm an insomniac, I'm not working out, I'm not eating properly, I'm pre-diabetic, I'm a mess, can you help me? And they went through all of these steps with me and helped me build a very strict and stringent routine to better my brain health. And it's something I follow today. And it's taken its ups and downs, and I've fallen off the routine and gotten back on it, and that's affected my mental health, and that's landed me back in psych wards. But every time since that third psych ward stay, I was truly self-aware enough to walk into the units and say, I need to be here or I won't be here with family and friends. And so it really was in building that routine, which you can find easily on my YouTube channel, which you see above me, at the playlist, The Art of Wellness, something that people are saying as far as Peru, Africa, China, and Japan, that, and by the way, it's science-based, evidence-informed tools for better brain health that are common sense tools. They're simple things that can help not just people with mental health diagnoses, but people in general, people as a whole. You can go there and it's 10 steps, 12 videos on how to better your brain health. And people are saying all over the world it's helping them in 6 to 9 months dramatically improve their mental health. And these are things that most of the things on that list are not things that are impossible to do, and you don't have to have perfect clinical care to do them. And that's what I think is really important, because we have so many barriers to people getting the clinical care they need in Canada, in America, and beyond. Getting them the simple tools that over time will benefit their brain health are really important and really crucial. And so I hope I've answered your question. I think that those of you serving the mental health population, those with mental health struggles and challenges and conditions, just remember they're people first and patients second.
I have a follow-up question to that, Kevin. So one of actually the good things that has developed in our community due to COVID is a mental health and addictions urgent care center. So this is a multidisciplinary team that is on site at our offices. It's a partnership with Hotel Dieu Grace Healthcare. And again, because we hear such negative stories of people that go to the emergency room when they're in a suicidal state or at risk of self-harm. So that was the impetus for creating this center. But are you seeing a shift in the US at all towards models like that, or any training or enhanced trainings or understandings of those staffing the emergency rooms for those experiencing mental health crises?
I can only speak from personal experience, and I will tell you the last time I went into a psych unit, an emergency ward to be placed into a psych hospital, it was probably one of the kindest experiences I've ever had. And I, as I said, this is 9 times in, and it was difficult every time before that. It was 2, 3, 4 hours, sometimes overnight, staying in the emergency ward before you get to bed. But this time in Atlanta, Georgia, I have to say, looking back, a good experience. They treated me like I deserved to be treated, like a person, like a human being, and one who was fearful of himself at that moment. And they couldn't have been kinder and more compassionate. And so I think that if that's an indicator for the rest of the country, I think we're on the right path to a better place for people in mental pain.
I echo exactly what you said, Kevin. I truly believe, I know we have lots and lots of healthcare professionals listening in, and it really does start, like, being a helper to anyone experiencing emotional pain, distress, really starts with compassion for others, yourself, but also that willingness to simply be there with someone and listen, because they are the world's expert. So a lot of individuals are writing in the chat, when someone is experiencing thoughts of suicide and they are indicating that there is no hope and that they don't feel worthy, what are some What are some statements? What are things helpers can do for someone in complete emotional, spiritual, mental pain?
You know, if you're a loved one of someone going through this, I think the biggest thing you can do, the most important thing you can do, is listen intently without the need to respond. Listen in a way that is active listening. You're not there to solve the root of their problem, although you want to get them to admit that. But you're really there to be a beacon of hope in their time of dire need. And I think that all too often we're worried about what to say, and that goes in one ear and out the other when you're mentally unwell. You need to worry about what to do. Physically be there with your arm around their shoulder, let them know you got their back, that they're not alone, and that suicide never has to be their solution to their problem. It is in fact the problem. And I think that, you know, every time I've become suicidal and my wife or my father has stepped in, them just physically being there, being open to saying, Kevin, we understand your thoughts, we empathize with your thoughts, but your thoughts don't have to become your actions, and we're going to stand in front of you to keep you safe. That really is the best thing I think family members and loved ones can do, is just being there.
We often hear parents and teachers say that they're afraid to mention suicide because if we talk about suicide, then we might be encouraging it. So what can you say directly to parents and teachers who might feel that way?
To those of you who say if we talk about suicide, we might encourage it, that's been disproven time and time again. It doesn't put the thought in someone's mind if it's not already there. It gives them permission instead to speak on their pain. Here's the deal. You know, if you don't talk about it, then kids will never know, or people will never know that you care about them potentially doing it, and that you don't want them to, and that it's not the answer. If you don't talk about it and you sweep it under the rug, it's more plausible to happen than the other way around. If you do talk about it in an educated, in a non-sensationalistic, appropriate way, you could be the impetus to saving a life. And you know, I can tell you from firsthand experience as well, that in traveling the world for the last 20 years, sharing my story in a way that is hope-filled, insightful, and filled with tools and tricks to better your brain health, I've received now hundreds of thousands of messages saying that this story helped change or save a life. I don't own that. I don't say I saved lives. I say that people heard my story, whether it was on a video or in person or otherwise, and they went home and they did the work and they saved and changed their own life. But without that impetus to us talking about suicide, having the conversation, openly saying the word in a true way, in a sense that's not bogged down by jargon, they heard the truth and they told their truth, and now they're alive today, where they wouldn't have been before. So if you just look at that alone, you can see that not talking about it is not the answer. It's in fact very dangerous.
It's extremely dangerous. We know that suicide grows in darkness and in isolation. And human beings, we are social creatures. We need social connections. We thrive on that. And thank you, Kevin, for saying exactly that. Is we need to start openly asking, letting others know, I see you, I hear you, and all I want to do is be here for you. Most individuals who are thinking about suicide don't want to die, they want the emotional pain to stop. Could you speak to that for a bit in terms of the pain? And a lot of individuals in the chat are asking and wondering about substance and how an individual might start using unhelpful coping strategies.
So So if we take that one question at a time, can you give me the first question again?
Oh no, I forgot. No, just kidding. So my first question is, when we are being that listener and having the open conversation, are you thinking about suicide? How do we be there for someone and acknowledge that they are in pain?
I think that the best way to do that is to be physically around, or well, now in COVID it's difficult, but to certainly call and say, you know, I feel like you're going through a lot. I can't tell exactly what it is. I'm very worried about you. Here's why. You know, are you thinking of killing yourself, and have you ever made plans to take your life? We know that the crisis text line has studied the data, and actually the terms, are you thinking of killing yourself, gets more honest answers, statistically speaking, than are you thinking of suicide, because it's very specific, it's very bold, it's very blunt, it's very real. And what it does is it shocks the individual into telling the truth, because they go, oh my gosh, they've just realized my pain, and they've seen through it, they've seen through me, and they know what I'm going through, and they're here to help. And so people divulge their truth immediately. It's absolutely fascinating. That's one thing we can do to every person who we think is potentially suicidal. And let me go even a step further and say that I think we should even reach out to those people that seem fine, because the person who is now struggling mentally has kind of changed in America and around the world. They are more quiet and more hidden than ever before, and they are internalizing their pain. So if we are the ones to really dig in and dig deep, we've got to ask those questions of people that are both visibly in pain and those that we care and love about that are not visibly in pain. Ask the question, because the worst thing they can do is say, no, what are you, crazy? Leave me alone. And that's no harm, no foul. You really can't open a doorway to them getting the help they need.
Thank you, Kevin. The other question referred to if someone is supporting a loved one, a family member, a friend, colleague who is experiencing thoughts of suicide with added substance misuse or addiction. Individuals on the chat want to know, what would be best to address thoughts of suicide, safety, or the addiction, substance misuse use?
I think in this situation, you have to address both simultaneously. And that's going to be difficult. My biological parents, I'm adopted. My biological parents, after they had me and my brother, succumbed to drugs and alcohol, and they would die of substance use disorder and mental illness. And so I'm very closely connected to this cause. So when you are dealing with a loved one who is both using a substance or substances and has suicidal ideation, you have to address both in the only way you should know how, which is through empathy, kindness, and compassion. Look them in the eyes and let them know that you're going to help them get past their addiction and into a better place, and let them know that their recovery is plausible, most likely with a great deal of hard work. There is really no end-all be-all with solving a substance use issue. You really have to just dive in and say, I've got your back, and be ready to deal with the ramifications of what's going to happen next. If they're coming off the drug or the substance, they're going to have withdrawals, and that's going to be a very difficult period. But just remember that as difficult as it is for you to look at them going down this rabbit hole, imagine how difficult it is for them, the ones that are going through it individually and personally. But there is hope, there is light at the end of the tunnel, and there is possibility for them to find that recovery, live and stay in it. My birth parents didn't get that chance, and I wish I would have been there for them when they were going through it, but I didn't know them. I was with my adopted family. So remember to stay kind and humble, hungry to help them with their diagnoses and their struggles.
So, Kevin, you have a great deal of emotional intelligence, and you have a lot of self-awareness. And I'm making an assumption that hasn't always been the case. And how does one develop that, or what would you suggest to someone to gain that insight?
I'm glad you asked that question, because I didn't have it for the longest time. I was not resilient. I had very little emotional intelligence as it came to my mental illness. I was not self-aware in the least bit prior to my third psych ward stay. And it really came down to my uncle bringing that article into the psych ward and saying, Kevin, if you don't take 100% responsibility for the fact that you have this disease and you don't fight it tooth and nail every day, kid, ain't nothing gonna change. You'll be in and out of these places for the rest of your life. Is that what you want? And I said, no, Uncle George. And he said, well, we're counting on you. And it really broke through to me and my psyche. And I just thought, oh my gosh, you mean I can read this article, I can put these things into place, I can build this routine, and I can feel better like most of the time? Really, I can do this? And sure, I'd fall back off my routine and back into a psych ward, or I'd have a medication that didn't work the way it was supposed to, and fall back into a psych ward, or whatever the situation may be. But I always, after that moment, knew what to do to get back to a better place and to stabilize. And I kept that with me, because it was like riding a bike. Once I learned it, I couldn't unlearn it. And so my suggestion to people who are just trying to find their footing and just trying to find the ability to be self-aware is read books about self-awareness, read books about your diagnoses. I don't know how many times I read the book Bipolar for Dummies. Those phone books, those yellow phone books that are for every mental illness, and you can get one for any mental struggle and any diagnosis, period. And I shared that book with my family and friends. I shared the book Loving Someone with Bipolar Disorder with about everybody I knew. And when I did that, people who loved me, who were willing to read the book, they treated me better. And in that better treatment, I found proof positive that I could do this. I could fight this, and I could win one day at a time. I could be here tomorrow and every day after that. And so that was really and that is the path I've been on since then, all those years ago.
I'm smiling ear to ear, Kevin, only because myself and my colleague, we have facilitated over 50 suicide first aid trainings. And oftentimes, people ask me, what is the best thing that I can do for myself? And we constantly say, you and only you are the individual that is the expert in your mental health. Get to know yourself. And oftentimes as helpers, people always say, what's the best thing I can do to be a helper? And I just say, you are going to help someone save their own lives. Yeah. And that is hope-filled, because we are the ones that through kindness, empathy, and compassion can be there for someone and just root for them as they are on that journey of recovery, growth. And I know The Rock was huge for you in terms of offering you a mantra to stay here. And I do want to speak to that, because I think that can engage so much hope for our youth in terms of, whether it's video games, an artist, an actor, anybody in your community, what can they offer to us?
That's a great point. There's so many inspiring people around the world that are doing great work in their respective fields. And Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson inspired me with his book, The Rock Says, years ago. I read it in high school. My father had it signed for me, and it would be the first time that a piece of literature would help save my life from my first attempt at suicide, which happened before the Golden Gate Bridge. And in reading the book, and reading his passage about defeating depression with faith and hard work, and getting past that pain, and that you wouldn't be the first and you wouldn't be the last to go through it. In that book, I would take that book to every psych ward stay I'd be in until my 5th psych ward stay, where a young kid came out to me and said, "Hey, I need that book more than you do." And I said, "No, you gotta be kidding me, man. It's signed by the Rock. It's not gonna happen." And he said, "Listen, you finally beat your suicidal ideation. I'm still going through it. I need that book more than you do. Please, man, I need your help." And I just realized that, okay, I've highlighted the passage. I know it by heart. You know, I don't need to keep the book now. I need to give it away and let it help somebody else. And, you know, it's a testament to who Dwayne Johnson is, because he has changed so many lives through his work. I mean, look at all the work he does with the when there's children that are passing away and they're dying, the Make-A-Wish Foundation, he's there on a regular basis, cheering them up and giving them hope and giving them a shoulder to lean on, and it's a big shoulder. and so, you know, he really changed my perspective and my will to fight, and that I'll never forget that. I'll always be thankful for that.
So we know that we all have a role to play when it comes to suicide prevention, that no one organization, no one body can solve it on their own. And we have established a suicide prevention coalition in Windsor and Essex County. What advice would you have for that group as we're starting to develop our framework and protocols? What could be, do you think, are the best elements to be included as part of that for success and impact?
I think the biggest thing you can do, and I really believe this because I think it's the way of the future of prevention, is value lived experience, expertise, and give the families who lost loved ones a louder voice, a seat at the table. We need to normalize the conversation, not just to the current community members, but with everybody else. We know that neuropsychiatric disorders are the leading cause of disability in the U.S. Depression is the leading cause of disability worldwide. Reaching out to your coalition, staying connected, using this time to strengthen internal mechanisms to develop supportive environments, reducing stigma or discrimination, which will in turn increase productivity in the coalition and create inclusive cultures. I recommend to the coalition that we find ways and resources to create a culture of support for mental health at the organizational level, and you know, folks that are working with the coalition who are mentally healthy and are happier, more productive, more likely to stick around, give them more responsibilities because they know what they're doing. I think those are the things you can do to improve the coalition and their efforts, and they can see a great deal of change if they implement these things into their daily routines and efforts.
Now, as I mentioned before, Kevin, in our community, one founding pillar of the coalition really is, we are hopeful to have 0 suicides in our community. That is a dream, that is a hope. We truly believe we can attain that. How important do you believe is suicide prevention training? Should we be, having standard evidence-based quality assurance training such as, suicide first aid for schools, hospitals, hospital staff, all of our community? And at what age, this is my personal question, what age do you believe is the right age to start having these types of discussions with our youth?
Well, to be blunt, the youngest person in America to die by suicide was a 4-year-old boy. A 4-year-old boy. So, with that said, I think, to answer that last part of your question, that we should be educating our 4th, 5th, and 6th grade classes about suicide prevention to their comprehension level right now. I think this country made a huge mistake, and Canada and the whole world made a huge mistake in educating just literature, science, math, history, and language, as opposed to mental, mind, brain, behavioral health, suicide prevention, and better well-being. We made a mistake in a huge way to not teach emotional intelligence, to not teach mental health in these schools from 4th grade on up, because you could get the folks in the beginning of their developing journey in the comprehension level of their grade, and you could help them recognize that when they get 17 or 18 and they become suicidal, now they know exactly what to do, and they know their thoughts don't have to become their actions. They don't have to die by suicide. Their thoughts don't have to own, rule, and define what happens to them next. Had we done that, we would see a lot less suicides today. I think we need to start it now so that we can save the older generations later. I think we need to do that, and it needs to be something that comes into play immediately, and something that our foundation, the Kevin and Margaret Hines Foundation, is working toward on Capitol Hill. So, it's coming. It's just a matter of time, and I think that's really what needs to happen.
Now we have a few minutes left, and I want to ask another question. So it's been an unprecedented year for so many reasons. We've talked about COVID, of course, but we've also seen a lot of unrest when it comes to different movements such as Black Lives Matter. It's happening across the U.S., but also across the world. And what impact do you think that has on our mental health, Kevin?
I think first of all first of all, I'm a quarter Black, and I feel the pain of all Black men and women who've suffered through systemic injustice and racism and bigotry. I was a kid who, when I was in grade school, the older white kids would pick me up, turn me upside down, and place me in garbage cans, and tell me that I was part Black, and that's why they put me in the garbage can, and that's what I was. I was garbage. They called me Little Red because my hair was red. They called me Little Red N-word every single day without fail, and they would beat me up on a regular basis, and it was all because of my race. And so, I know that the true message of the Black Lives Matter movement changed the way Americans fight for freedom. Black Lives Matter has always been more of a human rights movement, I think, as well as a civil rights movement. Black Lives Matter focus has been less about changing specific laws and more about fighting for fundamental reordering of society, wherein Black lives are free from systemic dehumanization, racism, and bigotry. I think still the movement's measurable impact on the political and legal landscape is undeniable. I think in the USA, we believe in freedom of speech. Therefore, it is our constitutional right to peacefully protest and assemble. And I truly believe that we will come out of this and become a much better society. I don't condone rioting or violence or the devastation that has been caused to so many cities around our country by whomever is taking upon that, as they call them, the bad actors, if you will. But I do say that things need to change. We need to better balance the way we treat people in this country, and everyone needs to be treated first as a human being, as one human race, and equal, truly, truly equal. We can talk about partisan politics any day of the week, but both sides have their difficulties and both sides have their brokenness, if you will. And I think that the Black Lives Matter movement needs to continue fighting for justice and equality until it is crystal clear that we are all on the same page and that we all treat each other. My mom said it best. Kevin, be kind, compassionate, loving, caring, empathetic, and non-judgmental to every single person you ever come into contact with, no matter their behavior toward you. Because you never know what they're going through or what they've been through. And I think that we need to do that. We need to be more empathetic to people in pain, and certainly Black people who have been so judged for so long.
Well said. Well, we could talk to you all morning, and to that point, we have a solution for that, for everyone that's joining us. We have Kevin scheduled to come to Windsor on May 4th, 2021. Fingers crossed, everyone.
Yes, please.
Yes, that we can travel and be in a room together by May. So that is CMHA's Wake Up, Speak Up Breakfast Series. So Kevin is our keynote speaker, and you can visit our website, Windsor-Essex.cmha.ca, to find out information about that. And also, just before we let everyone go, it is Suicide Prevention Awareness Month, as we know. And again, we have a screening starting next Friday, September 18th, of the film Last Call. So it's going to be shown at the Lakeshore Cinema in Windsor, but also a few other theaters in the province. Again, that information you can find on our website. And we do have our suicide prevention walk happening this year. Unfortunately, it's a virtual model, so walk with your friends or family that are part of your bubble. And if they're not part of your bubble, then practice the appropriate safety protocols like physical distancing, wear your mask, but get out on September the 27th, and you can, we encourage you to share photos on social media. And again, thank you so much to Kevin, and again to our sponsors, Motor City Community Credit Union, the Windsor Professional Firefighters Benefit Fund, and AW4U Real Estate Group. So thank you to all of them. Thank you to all of you for signing up and participating. And I'll let Jenny Lee have the last word.
Oh, yay. Okay, so Kevin, thank you. You have instilled so much more hope for me as a mental health advocate, someone with lived experience as well. And I am going to listen to your mother, and I am going to be kind, and we're all going to listen to understand, meet someone where they're at, let someone know they are not alone and they can be here tomorrow. Thank you so much, Kevin, for allowing us to, hear your words of wisdom, your journey, and your relentless pursuit of also hopefully reaching out and letting everybody know that we need to stop suicides from happening worldwide. So thank you all.
Thank you, Jenny, Carrie, and everybody. Really appreciate you guys. Thank you, Kim.
Thank you. And this has been recorded, so it should go up on our YouTube channel. Is that correct? Yes. Okay. So watch for that. All right, everyone. Have a good one.
Bye, guys.
Bye.